Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Oaktree TV. I'm Dave Kemp and today I'm joined by Andy Bellavia. Andy, say hello.
Hi everyone, and thanks Dave for the opportunity to discuss Hearables and the role Knowles is playing in them.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Andy said, he is with Knowles. He is the Director of Market Development there. And as some of you might be familiar, Knowles Corp is a acoustic component manufacturer. So they make a lot of the different acoustic devices that fit inside the hearing aid. So I wanted to bring him on to kind of shed a light on, some of the component innovation that's going on that are allowing for some of these new features in our hearing aids. But for starters, I wanted to talk about the fact that Andy is a recent hearing aid wearer. He just started wearing Phonak Marvels. And I know that, talking to him, he's mentioned he's getting a lot of value from them beyond just the amplification features that I thought was really interesting and wanted to share here. So Andy, let's start there. Why don't you tell us about your experience with your Phonak Marvels so far?
Sure, glad to. I mean, apart from the fact that I need them to actually hear properly, and of course I'm like everybody else who waited way too long to get them, but I've also come to appreciate on personal level what it means to have a hearable device in your ear 24/7. Because you think about it, oh, I'm standing in an airport line, I want to listen to a podcast. I've got to go fishing in my bag, pull a device out, pair it up, put it in my ears. You just don't, there are cases where you don't do that. But when you have a device in your ear all the time, it becomes very, very convenient. And I actually find myself doing things like that. I gave an example in another setting where I wanted to listen to the 45-second VoiceBot podcast. I was walking between offices. I just said, hey Google, play the VoiceBot podcast, and off I was running. And so you really start to understand where the future of hearables is going when everybody is walking around with a voice assistant in their ear all day long.
And I think that you make a really good point there, a pretty profound point, which is something that I think is almost ironic, is that hearing aids really are at the forefront of what I think a hearable will look like in the future, right? Just to your point there, when you have something that's in your ear all day and it's really discreet and it's just kind of there, it opens up this possibility of consuming audio, interacting with the smart assistant really at any point of the day, to the point to where you start to actually offload a lot of the things that you rely on your phone for. You're reducing that friction. And so I know that, one of the concerns with this is if we move toward a future where, you have this ability to invoke your smart assistant just by speaking, the wake word, then you have this issue of, is there an always listening microphone in my hearing aid? Does that have issues with the battery life, and the privacy concerns? So let's start with this idea of having this ability and how Knowles can solve this potential paradox that would present.
Yes, and you bring up a really good point. I think the ultimate end game for hearable devices of all kinds is when you can use them like smart speakers. So when I'm at home, I can just say, hey Google, what's the weather in Poughkeepsie on Saturday? I don't have to press anything. Whereas right now, with any device, I still have to invoke it. With my hearing aids, I have to do it from the phone. If I put in, say, the new Hear IQ buds, then I touch them. But if you think about it really, when I'm out and about, if I can just say, without touching anything, with my arms full, hey Google, what's the weather in Poughkeepsie on Saturday? That's true hearable functionality on the go. But to do that, you have to have the means of activating and passing the command on to the smartphone, because today the hearable devices all interact through the phone to get their hearing assistant functionality. So we've actually developed a microphone that has a built-in DSP that handles this chain for you. It's a little more complicated than you would think, because take an example of a hearable where I press it, I have to wait for the phone to wake up and be ready to receive the commands, so there's a delay. And that would not be tolerable in your smart speaker or your advanced hearable. I don't want to have to say, hey Google, 1, 2, 3, bloop, what's the weather in Poughkeepsie on Saturday? I want to be able to do it continuously. So we built a DSP into a small MEMS microphone that actually records a few seconds of audio and then bursts it at high speed, so you've then caught up with the live audio stream. So for example, when I say, hey Google, it now sends the command to wake up the system. Then as I follow it with what's the weather, about that length of audio is recorded within the microphone. Now the system is ready, that's bursted at high speed, and now the system is ready to take the rest. So really to the user, it's all very seamless. Hey Google, what's the weather in Poughkeepsie on Saturday? And it just happens without the user realizing all the underlying process that's going underneath, managed by the DSP of the smart mic.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating stuff, because I think at the end of the day, the thing that matters the most is that the user doesn't even realize what's going on in the background. They just assume that it works, and that type of technology is going to be the type that makes it such. So, Andy, I want to kind of wrap up here. Do you have any other kind of closing remarks around the experience that you're having, the way that you see the world from both the perspective as a hearing aid user, but also as a perspective of someone that is, kind of deeply rooted in this industry, knowing what's transpiring right now with a lot of the component innovation that Knowles is involved with?
Sure, glad to. You can really see the hearing aid and hearable convergence coming at it from both ends. My hearing aids are rechargeable, the battery lasts all day long, they're super comfortable and discreet. Hearable devices have more advanced functions outside of the hearing correction part. And they, however, are a little bit larger, a little bit less comfortable, a little less discreet, and shorter battery life, but they're both really approaching each other. So that very soon you will have an all-day smart speaker in your ear. You had asked about privacy, and I'll mention that one attractive feature of the smart mic is that it also assures privacy, because only the microphone is listening. The rest of the audio chain is shut down until the wake word is invoked, so it's virtually impossible for somebody to surreptitiously pick up your audio stream. You have to invoke the wake word before the audio chain is running.
Yeah, no, great stuff. I mean, I totally agree with both your points there. I think this convergence is real. I think it is going to happen. I think that we kind of convolute the fact that hearables and hearing aids are kind of one and the same. They're both computers in the sense that, they already have a rudimentary level of functionality behind the core functionality of the device, whether that be a hearing aid. Now you have these additional features, and I think things are going to continue to progress, get more computerized, and it's really interesting to hear how companies like Knowles are thinking about some of these potential issues that would arise as these things get more computerized, like privacy and such. So, Andy, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm sure this won't be the last time. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you next week.